Blog Talk Radio.
You're with the Dr. John Show After Dark, and we're doing a little bit of post-debate coverage. And I should be joined on the line by Abrith. How you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm here. How's it going?
It's going fantastic, man. I liked how we got together earlier today, and we're discussing the debate. And I don't know. I had a chance to talk with some friends about the debate too, and I don't know. Romney's full of shit. That was kind of the consensus.
Yeah, well, like I was saying on my show, I looked at some of the early polls that came out. Romney's not quite doing as well as I thought he was doing,
Okay.
but he's still at like 36% think that he won. I mean, he's almost at 40% already.
Wow. So is that post the debate tonight, or is that before then?
No, this is post-debate. This is just purely based on who do you think won, Obama or Romney. 36% are saying Romney.
Ouch. Okay.
So, I really don't think you can really win these debates, like a blowout, like I was telling you. I mean, people kind of watch it and they see it how they want to see it a lot of the time.
I'd agree with you, and I think that, honestly, I think Barack Obama has it in the bag, and that doesn't sum up the whole debate tonight, but I just think Romney's camp is too fake. I think that he hammered away at the practicing for the debates, and I think in doing so, when Obama came back, he came back refreshed and with new material and new stuff, and Romney's been the stale, stagnant thing the whole time. I haven't seen any change there, so I would have placed myself on the fence of an undecided voter, but after tonight's performance, I can safely say that I won't vote for him. I'm not going to say that I won't write in Ron Paul, and I know it's a long shot, and I know there's a huge write-in campaign for him, but if I was going to quote-unquote waste my vote, I wouldn't waste it on Romney. I'd throw it over to Ron Paul.
Now, let me ask you this though: if the election's close and you wake up that morning and you look at early polls and you see that Mitt Romney might be slightly ahead, or it's just neck and neck, and if the wind blows the right way, Romney's going to win this thing, wouldn't you at that point say, you know what? Symbolically, I'd like to vote for Ron Paul, but I kind of have a duty to make sure this creep Romney stays out of office, and then you would vote for Obama?
Yeah, you make a good point there. I definitely would. That would sway me. It would, and it's not. I have to be clear. It's not because Romney's the better candidate. It's because he's the better between two evils. Like
Obama, you mean?
Obama cannot do anything he didn't do in his first 4 years. I don't think giving him another 4 years is a long time. I know it went by really quickly, but 4 years is a long time. I mean, I just think of the things that, like, if you got a group of high school students together and ask them, like, what would you do if you were president? They'd all do more than Obama's done. He's taken more vacations than any president in U.S. history. And,
not that was George W. Bush. Obama hasn't taken as many vacations as Bush did.
I would like you to look that up, because statistically, what I heard is that he has.
I heard that too, and I've looked it up. It's not true, but
no problem. Go crunch your data, and I'll crunch mine, which isn't to blow you off. Let's see who can find what, and we'll meet back here in, say, 2 minutes.
Oh, I'm not even on my computer right now. I got
okay. Well, we could stay it
Yeah.
for another time. I know
All right.
that I don't have the statistics in front of me, but I know that I've heard it. And I know George W. took a lot of them. I'm not saying for a minute he didn't, but I have heard that Obama took a lot. And if you think about it, there's been a lot of periods where you don't hear anything from Obama for a long time. I mean, months and months at a time. So I don't know. Maybe that means something. Maybe that means nothing.
Well, I think a lot of times, though, in those periods where you don't hear from him, I think it's just because he doesn't constantly want to be in the media. Even during those times, he'll still do like a presidential radio show update every weekend.
Oh, okay.
You know, I think that people don't think that he's done a lot, but I think it's more about Obama's not really the guy who always spikes the football. You know, I think he's done a lot of shit in 4 years. I think if you give him more time, he'll do two things. Number one, he'll do some of the stuff he didn't get to, and number two, he'll be like a placeholder where he'll keep, like the good shit he did, he'll keep that in place for another 4 years, as opposed to you put someone else in there, and right away they're going to say, okay, we're going to get rid of this shit.
Okay. So is that where your vote is at this point? Your vote's for Obama?
Yeah, you know, I'm an independent voter, but these Republicans, to me, I don't know what happened to this party, the party that used to be about, like, you know, fiscal conservatism and smaller government. They really, to me, they seem like the party of bigger government. I mean, when you think about the fact that, you know, when you have a war, the soldiers, they work for the government. You increase government when you go to war, and when you vote to go to, like, Iraq, I mean, what a waste that was. And then you talk about fiscal conservatism. These guys are so in bed with these, like, right-wing Christians now that they've kind of tossed fiscal conservatism to the side, and they more err on the side of, you know, what would Jesus do?
You think that would be Romney's, like, campaign slogan if he's elected?
I don't.
Or his running
platform? The thing is, the funny thing is, like, Romney he's not as Christian as a lot of these other Republicans. I think Romney's actually a pretty liberal guy when you look at, you know, the modern-day Republicans. I just wouldn't vote for him because, you know, he just flip-flops way too much. He'll say whatever he has to say at the moment to get a vote.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and we discussed in your show too that that's definitely probably the top quality that I don't like about the guy. I don't want to place my vote for anybody, and that's where it gets hard. Like, I feel like, okay, I can vote for Obama and I know what I'm getting, or I can vote for Romney, and it's kind of like throwing dice, if you will, because I don't really know what I'm getting, but it feels like anything would be better than the last 4 years. I mean, with you, maybe that's a good topic, is that with you saying that you're going to vote for Obama, which is fine, and I respect that, with you hearing that employment rates are worse today and the economy is worse today, how do you balance that against where your vote is going?
Well, you know, these Republicans, they talk about, you know, Reagan, and they're always kissing Reagan's ass. And I wish I had the statistics here. I want to say, and I'm pretty sure about this, that unemployment at the height of the Reagan administration was 10.7%, and when he left office, it was 7.6%. And they kissed his ass. Well, you know, it's at 7.8 right now. It's not far from 7.6. You know, Obama.
Romney interjects. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off like Romney, but Romney interjects and says that, you know, if we actually took into people that have left the workplace, which I understand that includes baby boomers who have aged and things like that, that it would actually be 10 point something. Now, even if we take into account the baby boomers, you think it would still be at 8.59%, right?
Yeah, well, I do, but there's actually more on that kind of weird formula Romney has that I didn't get to explain earlier.
Okay.
Well, this concept that people have left the workforce, so the unemployment rate number is actually higher than it is, that's true, but Romney's only saying that's true under Obama. he's not admitting that that was true under Clinton, that was true under George W. Bush. He takes George W. Bush, and when he mentions, like, Bush's unemployment numbers, he takes that completely out of the formula. He doesn't mention that, all these people had left the workforce, but then when he mentions Obama, all of a sudden he adds that to the formula.
Okay, I got you. So he's doing what CNN quoted as cherry-picking the facts. That's off CNN today.
Yeah.
All right. So, again, and this isn't, I hope you don't take this as attacking you for voting for Obama. It's just picking the brain of somebody who's voting for Obama. So where Romney says he's going to, expand drilling and things like that, how do you back your player, Obama, is saying he blocked pipelines, like the pipeline that was supposed to go through Canada? He blocked that. That could have created millions of jobs here.
Well, I don't know exactly what the number is in terms of jobs that would have been created if Obama didn't block that. Obama's not just saying, I want to, in terms of energy, keep things the way they are now, and the alternative would be, I'm going to, create more jobs by having this pipeline. Obama's saying, listen, I want to create more jobs, more energy jobs, but I feel that instead of drilling and it being, some pipeline for Alaska where it's bad for the environment, those can be jobs that people can get from building wind turbines. We can invest in solar energy. Now there's solar electric. There's hydro energy. I mean, there's so many other ways to get jobs out of the energy market.
I would agree with you. The president was quoted as saying that he wasn't necessarily against the pipeline. It was the Keystone Pipeline, which is an important link between U.S. market, which is obviously thirsty for energy and it's a rich source of petroleum and is stable. And when you go through the research, it was a $7 billion deal that was to be done mostly with private sector funding. It was supposed to stretch 1,711 miles down through the plains and go through the Canadian province of Alberta. As far as jobs that would be created, I guess ultimately that's, who knows, because it didn't come to pass. So the other thing I can't really see immediately straight off is why he blocked it. It doesn't really say why. And I'm all for renewables. The only problem is currently solar. Even if we had more solar farms, we couldn't run, say, the United States full of electric cars. We can't because we don't have the distribution system for it. So even if we made enough solar power for all the cars in the United States, we don't have the infrastructure or the power lines to distribute all that power. That's the only problem with the renewables factor is we don't have, in the places where it's most easily produced, we don't have the power lines and infrastructure in place for that.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that the Republicans will say to criticize the president. We everything you just said, but Obama's not suggesting that we fully switch over to this stuff tomorrow. Obama's pretty much saying we should be investing in this a little bit now. I'm actually kind of upset with him about this because he really has drilled more than George W. Bush has. Like, Obama's an oil guy, but there's no paper trail. At least with Bush, you were like, okay, well.
He has. You're absolutely right. There was more drilling per year. I had the number in front of me earlier, and I don't have it right in front of me right now, but CNN and NBC also agree with that point. In the debate, Romney said that he hadn't done more drilling, and then the fact-checkers came out with NBC and CNN for those of us who care about facts, and Obama has done more drilling.
Yeah, well, it's one of those constant things where if you keep saying it, people will buy into it.
Yeah.
Like, I wish Obama would have done less drilling. Like, I'm not a big oil guy, but the truth is he has. And if they're arguing who's the most Republican on this issue, it's Obama.
Well, I think I would agree with you very much that we don't need to do a lot right now, but the thing is, if in 4 years he wasn't laying out more infrastructure for renewable energy, then I worry about the 8 years, because he launched all these innovative green companies. But again, the primary thing is, if you're reducing the energy, you have to have a way to utilize it. And if you take into account any pretty much metropolitan area, that's what you're going to benefit with a huge abundance of energy, because you can't transport it anywhere. And it would be nice to see some infrastructure where you can actually go to a gas station and hook up an electric car, or go to hydrogen or whatever. What really shocked me, and this is the last point that I'll try and make, is that if you go back to like the 1800s, and we're talking like Henry Ford times, that's where it started. That's the really screwed up thing. We started with electric cars, like way back when, and then we went to the combustible engine, and that's the part that like I have trouble even wrapping my mind around how today we're like, oh, an electric car. That's where we started. It would be crank, crank, and your electric car would turn on. So I don't get it.
Yeah, I think that the analogy I would make is that we have a lot of like weird drugs in this country, legal drugs that you can take that'll do all kinds of weird shit to your body if you have like some kind of medical issue. Well, if you go back long enough, there were Native Americans in this country. They were smoking marijuana and treating a lot of the same shit. But you
like
know,
how
big
marijuana is
pharma,
now found to cure cancer.
Yeah, I've heard about that too. But you look at like how like big pharmaceuticals, they don't have the patent on marijuana, so they want to make money. They need something that they've got the patent on. It's the same thing with when you look at these cars. I mean, you know, there's money in us staying away from electric cars. Not us, but there's money in staying away from electric cars and, you know, keeping these cars running on oil. Another thing
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say another thing that I would say is a big failure of the Obama administration, even though he's been better than other presidents, is this concept of how many miles per gallon you're going to get for your gasoline. And, you know, Obama said, oh, well, by 2025 or something ridiculous, you'll see a slight increase. I mean, it's ridiculous. We should either have cars where you get much, you know, way more miles per gallon, or we should be trying to get away from it altogether.
It's true, but if you take into account the UAE, United Arab Emirates, and you take into account that you've got the royal families down there, it gets very complex very quickly because we keep arming them. I believe it was 2 years ago, we sent a whole bunch of F-16s over. I don't think they got a stealth bomber, but they got like a bunch of F-16s, F-17s, a whole bunch of weapons. Anyway, they're, I want to say, about 80% dependent on U.S. oil consumption. So if we stop using it, then we put a noose around their neck and hang them, and we've given them the weapons to fight us. Now, I don't believe they have any nuclear capabilities, but imagine if you were a group or, you know, an army who's been taking money from the United States, just cash raping us for 20, 30 years. I would imagine they have enough money to get their hands on a nuke and hold us hostage because they don't have any other sources of income down there. None. They are a thriving city and it's all dependent on us. So if we stop the cash flow, we're in real trouble. The difference being when we stopped buying goods and consuming as much as we were, in my opinion, to China, they just kind of fell back and they started falling apart. Now, they didn't strike at us, and that's probably because they have nukes and we have them, but I think if we made any country desperate enough, then they would retaliate against us. I think, you know, the only other thing I can really say about that is Japan's response to us not buying goods was, okay, this really is affecting us. You know, obviously there's an interconnected relationship between the U.S. and China, and both of them just started buying up bonds and issuing us money so that we could turn around and use the loan to buy more stuff. So they've kept us afloat. But you know, you make a lot of really good points, and I have to tell you, if you were a campaign manager for Obama or Romney, you'd be hard to argue against because your points are really valid, and I can't really refute anything back at you on it. Just not there.
Well, thank you. let me also say there was a documentary I watched. I believe it's on Netflix. It's called, I watched it like a week ago. It's called Cocaine Cowboys, and it's about the Miami drug lords pretty much of the late 70s and early 80s. And they were talking about, one of the differences between the way they would handle someone owing them money and, like, the Italian mob handling the same situation. The mob would show up and threaten you. And they might smack you around a little bit, but they'd get your money. Whereas these, the Colombian drug pins, if they didn't get their money when they were supposed to, they'd just kill you. And I heard people, mention stories of them doing this and then realizing, well, fuck, if we didn't get the money before, now we're really not going to get the money. And it kind of reminds me of, like, what you're saying with these people, they might get pissed off at us and try to get nukes and use them. Well, yeah, if you blow up the country, there's going to be a lot less people here buying your oil.
It is. It's very true. I think there's a fine line between less people buying your oil, and I honestly think this is what the administration with the White House is dealing with too, is that there's a difference between less people buying your oil and no people buying your oil.
Right.
I don't deceive myself for a second to think the U.S. doesn't know of technology that can make us energy independent right now. To give you an example, I don't know if you've ever heard of this, but it's called the infinite battery principle. And it's the fact that you can take a strand of copper wire and run it up to a certain length, and you can run it to a battery, and that battery will recharge forever just off the energy that's in the airwaves. And that's because everything from FM radio waves to AM radio waves, everything that's in the air, there's already electricity all around us, enough to power, your cell phones and computers, and obviously, given the right technology, your car. So we technically could drive an electric car down the road, and it would be charged by the air around it. You follow?
Yeah, I've heard about this loosely. I've actually heard that, like, the ancient Egyptians actually used a similar technology to this, and it's one of those deals where you don't know if you want to believe it or not. But I have heard that.
If you go on YouTube, and I would say this to anybody who would either be in disbelief of this theory or just wants to know more, you can go on YouTube and type in the infinite battery, and you can actually see a demonstration of it. And there's, I believe, PBS and Nova, two places that I really, really respect, have videos out on it. And then the Egyptian battery that they found was wrapped in these clay pots with a copper tube in the inside, and it essentially is a better battery than we have today, but it's different. It's different than we have today, and both are very valid. But just in that, I think it would be really ignorant to think the U.S. doesn't have the technology, but I think that technology is almost like a weapon, because used the wrong way, we would devastate other countries, and it would have a ripple effect that would be really, really bad.
Well, also think of it this way. Again, talking about, like, the mob. The mob had different rackets where they made money, and think of the United States that same way. There's different rackets that make money. All right? Mm-hmm. These rackets want to keep making money, so just because you figured out an alternative that might be better for people's, pockets and better for the earth and all this stuff, if these people don't have the early patent on it, they're going to put out the PR that it's bullshit, it's going to cost jobs, it's bad, it's not going to work. All of this stuff, they're going to start these bullshit grassroots organizations that a lot of times are started by, like the Koch brothers, like the Tea Party, made to look like grassroots organizations. So you've got a big company, you've got a big industry, and now you've got a group of semi-paid people and semi-naive people championing a bullshit cause, and that's how things get blocked. You got a lot of people that won't vote for a guy that goes against something, and now Obama looks like a douchebag because he's trying to go against it.
You nailed on the exact thing that J.P. Morgan did to Nikola Tesla. Nikola Tesla got really, really close, and J.P. Morgan not only blocked him, but then went out and tore down his invention. So you're absolutely right. If something like that came out, if you ever get time sometime, remember how I told you to look up John Teeter? Another fascinating story is the guy who invented the water-powered car. completely powered on water. You put water in, the car goes. I don't even remember how many miles. It's something ridiculous, like 10,000 miles or something. But anyway, he was murdered, and they've admitted he was murdered. They never looked for a suspect in the case, and he was just gone, wiped off the earth, because that's how dangerous it is.
Right.
And I don't know. This same thing goes for anybody who's super genius about these different things, because there's a lot of money. I mean, if you threaten a drug dealer over like $10,000, you'll probably get killed. Imagine, threatening a royal family with billions of dollars a year.
Right.
It
I mean,
won't be
that's
very long.
Oh yeah. I mean that's what oil is. Oil is a drug that the United States is dependent on, and can't get off. And you've got the drug dealers telling you, "Hey man, stay on it."
Yeah, I completely agree with you, and I think to some degree, and I don't really care what people think about me saying this, I think to some degree people, if you become president, you're not naive to the fact that you're not untouchable. Because when you're talking about billions of dollars, I'm sorry, Secret Service can't help you.
Yeah.
That's the kind of money that hires, like, pro movie people. Talking like Jason Bourne. All right. So yeah.
Well, let me put it to you this way. Who do you think has more money? If you took, in one hand, you added up the money that Bill Clinton had, George W. Bush, Reagan, Obama, and in the other hand, you took the money that, like, Bin Laden has and the oil barons. I mean, look how much money Bin Laden has, and this guy's not walking around anymore. So if he can be taken out, any of us can be.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I think that I think just the fact that they got Bin Laden on the run is whimsical to me, because he had so much money. You could disappear with that kind of money. We're talking like enough money for facial reconstruction and whatever. If I had to bet, I don't even think that Osama bin Laden is dead, but I do think he's in a place like Guantanamo Bay where he'll never get out of. And he's there just, like, muttering around, probably morphined up or whatever, but he's there muttering secrets until they no longer think he knows anything, and then they'll off him. Or maybe he's comfortable somewhere that he can't ever leave. What was that movie where they had the dude locked in the house and they didn't know it till they got there? But he was like some presidential... I'll think of it later.
Well, I think he is very comfortable where he is, dead. And there probably are a lot of people like him that are walking around in Guantanamo Bay, but I think we did get him, and we just decided let's not bring him back and make him a martyr. Let's just dump his ass in the ocean and be done with it. I don't know, maybe I'm naive, but I think he's dead.
But you have to think about this. We're hunting for all these people, right? Because they know of terrorist attacks, right? So if you find the one person that's going to know about upcoming attacks, do you think they just shoot him? No.
Well, this is what I've heard, that the president didn't want to shoot him. It was the team that went in there that wanted to shoot him, and they shot him. At which point Obama was like, well, yeah, my order was, dead or alive, but from what I've heard and from what some of these SEALs putting out these books say, their order wasn't to kill him.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah, so that's the whole half hour there. Are we closing, or are we going into the overtime?
Oh, yeah, I suppose we'll close it. We've had such a good show. I don't want to ruin it. Let's plug your stuff. What's the next show, and what's your Twitter or Facebook or whatever you want to plug?
My Twitter, which has been going for like 2 days and has no followers, it's Random Shit Live. All one word. You can find me on Blog Talk. Just type in Abrith, Abrith, or Blog Talk /Random Shit. That's where you can find me. Every Saturday I do like a metal show where I just play heavy metal for half hour, and then during the week I do a talk show, usually on Wednesdays or Thursdays. And this week I'm kind of commemorating one of my brothers dying a couple of years ago and playing some metal songs that meant something to him and meant something to me. And That's Saturday at midnight on the West Coast for anyone who wants to join me.
Yeah, I heard that, man. I'm really sorry to hear about your brother. I know last show we were getting cut off, so I didn't have time to say anything, but yeah, I'm really sorry to hear about that, man.
Yeah, it's all right.
So we'll check out your metal show. For those of you that follow the Dr. John, we've got a new Facebook like thing. Just go to thedrjohn.com. On the right-hand side, click the like thing. You have to be logged into your Facebook when you go. You'll figure it out. You guys are all tech-savvy and technology surpassing whatever I knew. I used to be good at it. But anyway, thedrjohn.com, or you can go to youtube.com and then The Dr. John Show, but don't put any spaces. Aside from that, I want to thank my guest, slash co-host, slash friend, Abrith. It's been a lot of fun, as always. I really enjoyed this, and I think really that we should do another one of these. It's really fun, because we're both, I'm not really super decided on Rami, and you're kind of locked in, so it's fun, because I'm almost I don't know, you might change my mind by the end of this. Yeah,
I'll bring you over. I brought some people over already.
All right, I'll get back on the side of the Messiah.
Yeah.
All right, man. Take it easy.
All right, you too.
All right, later, everybody.